Hi everyone, my name's Agnes. I'm the content lead for the Pharmacy Show, which returns to Birmingham on the 13th and 14th of October this year. Dates for your diary if it's not already in there. I'm delighted to be joined by Bob from Meducate Academy today, who I'm delighted to say is going to be joining us for the second year at the Pharmacy Show to deliver a range of workshops throughout the 2 days, all designed to help you to improve your consultation skills. So thanks a lot, Bob, for joining me today.
Great to be with you again, Agnes. Great to see you.
So let's start. For those of us who've not heard about Meducate Academy, could you maybe tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so briefly, I set Meducate up in 2018, so I'm sort of founder and director. It sort of filled a gap in the training market for not just pharmacists, but medics, obviously nurses, physiotherapists, and physician associates. The bulk of our work initially was with physician associates, and it's providing medical role players who are also trained in clinical skills. We call them associate clinical educators. And of course, with the recent upskilling of pharmacists, we've seen an influx of work coming from pharmacy, working with a couple of companies, Pro Pharmacy and, of course, Clini Skills.
Brilliant, thank you. And I think you just mentioned there a couple of terms, associate clinical educators and medical role players. Could you clarify the distinctions between those for us? There's a couple of new terms for people maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are aware of what role play is and how role play can be useful, particularly when it sort of simulates an environment. It's used in all aspects of business now, and of course in medicine. So a medical role player is somebody who's trained in communication skills, how to speak effectively, how to take particularly in medicine, a good qualified history, because they say in medicine that 80% of your diagnosis comes from a good history. So communication plays an important part. So all of our guys who work for us are medical role players who've also been, as I call them, medical role players on steroids, aces. They've been trained up. Yeah. So they're the next level up. So medical role play is about simulation of situations, how to have difficult conversations, how to deal with angry patients. We recently did some projects and work with Wolverhampton Uni with pharmacy there, looking at how to deal with racism in the workplace, because community pharmacists get a lot of that evidently. So we've got workshops that we do on that. It's about refining communication so you build rapport with your client and you have a good outcome, or the desired outcome, certainly.
Brilliant. And I'm throwing in a curveball question here for you, but what's the difference in terms of learning through this kind of role play? What are the real benefits of doing that compared to, let's say, having a conversation and sort of learning from someone telling you, let's say? What are the benefits?
Of course, yeah. So the beauty of role play is, particularly with qualified role players, actors are fine, but actors need to be trained to do role play. There's a distinction there that I'm always at pains to explain. We can take an actor, teach them the comm skills. So what we can do as actors, we can reproduce a scenario faithfully. It's very realistic. That's the great thing. But because we're expert communicators, we can also sort of pull that conversation apart, by calling a timeout or waiting to the end and then giving accurate measured feedback to the student, to the client, to say, this is what you did well, this is where you need to change it. Let's go back into the scenario with these changes made and let's have a good outcome. And this is the way it works, really. It's about expert feedback from an interaction, which of course, if you're doing it with your pals, or with just another person, they're going to be nice, aren't they? They're going to say, oh no, you were brilliant. Whereas we will, we do it sensitively, obviously. And very rarely do we crash and burn with the conversation. What usually happens is we will call the timeout and say, right, let's just go out of the situation. You're struggling a little bit there. How could we work this out? Let's have some thoughts. If it's with a peer, with a group of peers, who often it is in a clinical setting, training, they'll also have an input as well. So together we work as a team to help this person achieve a desired outcome, which is an effective communication where trust is built up. And as experts at this, okay, I hate the word expert, but as experts at this, we can give really good objective feedback as to why something was good, why it was bad.
Interesting. And I guess it gives people then that toolbox to draw on. They've almost rehearsed for the real life conversations as and when they happen.
And that word, I could have used it myself. That's exactly what it is, Agnes. We say to students, we're like rehearsing. What we're doing is we respond to you. We had one student, I must tell you this, and this often happens. The student will say, I didn't sign up to be a pharmacist to do acting. And I always say, you're not acting, we are. You've just got to be yourself. And that's the other quality that comes out of role play. We're allowing the student to be themselves. And you can't make a mistake because you're safe. If you make a mistake in the real world, it's going to be difficult coming back. If you can work out where you've gone wrong and why, you'll never do it again. And it's about learning from those mistakes. I mean, obviously, I love role play. I think it's a really powerful tool. And we often find a lot of people, and the pharmacists will find this at the workshop, will be reticent to volunteer, come on. And our job is to motivate them, to give them the confidence to get up and get involved with the role play. Once they see how it works effectively, there's no holding them then. I mean, we've just been working with some people, with some pharmacists recently, and they were all sort of queuing. Can we do the role play next, So our job is also to motivate people. It's not just about being bodies,
Absolutely. And I think that's great to see people queuing up to do it because, as you say, people can be quite reticent sometimes to be that first person to stand up. But it's that safe space, isn't it, to make mistakes and try things and rehearse, as I said before.
It's a safe space. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we want to try and get across at the pharmacy show, to get people involved, to look at situations, how they can develop, how they can go well and how they can go bad. And we're going to do obviously a number of demos to outline that. But of course, we've got the other advantage of adding those workshop events to it as well, where people can get involved.
Absolutely. So you've segued nicely into my next question, which was about the pharmacy show specifically, and what are some of the sort of specific areas of clinical education that you're going to be focusing on? What are people going to be able to take away from your sessions?
Well, I'm hoping that they can take away some new skills, or skills that they haven't used for a while and they've had a refresher. So we're going to look at ENT because that's quite big with the upskilling of pharmacists, and we're going to look at that. We've only got an hour in each workshop sort of event, but we're going to be as intensive as we can. There's going to be a few of us there, experienced associate clinical educators who can guide the pharmacists. We're going to look at cardio, how to do a very, very basic cardio examination, listen to the heart. We're also going to look at how to do a manual blood pressure, because a lot can come from a manual blood pressure as opposed to just an electronic one. All these tools have their place, but you can't beat a manual blood pressure. And we'll help the student, the clients there, the delegates there, I should say, refresh skills or learn new skills. And we'll include in that little bits of communication as well, because we're going to have an interaction with them. And I'm really looking forward to this. It's quite exciting because we've been working with pharmacists intensively now since the last pharmacy show, strangely enough. I don't know whether there's a connection, but we've been working intensively with pharmacists. So thank you for that.
You're more than welcome. I think it's brilliant to have this kind of education. So I think it's great. And I think it's something that, as I said, we're really looking forward to doing again. And I'm sure the people signing up, well, I think having seen this, people will have had their interest piqued if it's not something they've done before. So if there are people watching this who think, oh, that sounds quite interesting, or maybe even thought, oh, I'm a bit nervous about this, but I'm intrigued, I would say have a look on the website, sign up to one of these workshops and come along. And you might start sitting at the back, but I think you'll soon be drawn in and queuing up to have a go yourself by the sounds of things.
I hope so. They were last year, so I mean.
Well, there we go.
And we've got. I'm not just saying this, but we've got a really engaging, experienced team, who, because their previous lives have been actors, they're performers, so they can make it enjoyable. We know people are nervous, and we know how to deal with those nerves. And I get the feeling that we're going to have quite a lot of people on the workshops. If anything like last year's, anything to go.
Absolutely. Well, I'm sure there will be. So, well, thank you, Bob. That's really helpful for us to just learn a little bit more about what you're doing. And as I said, if anyone's interest has been piqued, they can go to the Pharmacy Show website, have a little look, see what's what. book a time slot that works for them, because you're doing them across the 2 days of the pharmacy show, so people can fit it in around what the other things that they want to do. So yeah, go ahead and thank you so much, Bob. We'll see you in, I think it's 6 weeks as at the time of this interview.
Not long. It's not.
Not long to go.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it, Agnes.
Likewise. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye bye now.